Everybody smash that like button first off. Sorry, we're a little off to a little rough start here, but we're going to be talking about wholesale drop shipping. So, what do we have planned today, Jason?
So guys, today we're going to be talking all about wholesale dropshipping, getting started in 2020. Again, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Jason, co-founder of Dropshipping University. My specialty is wholesale dropshipping, so I'm excited to give you guys all the knowledge I have today about wholesale dropshipping. We put together a little PowerPoint presentation for you guys. It'll be nice and short, about 10-minute PowerPoint presentation briefly talking about the dropshipping, wholesale dropshipping business model and some things to consider when starting with eBay dropshipping. Now, I know there's going to be some people on here who might specialize in Amazon dropshipping or Shopify, and I want to tell you guys that you can do wholesale dropshipping on those other platforms too, but in the context of today's live, we're going to be mostly focusing on eBay, I'd say, just because there's a lot of people out there who want to get started with wholesale dropshipping on eBay, and it's in compliance with the eBay's dropshipping policy, so that's going to be one of the major pros of doing wholesale dropshipping. Also, anybody who's out there watching right now, let us know where you guys are from. We see the comments coming up.
Who's in here, where you're from, and also be sure to check out in the description down below. We do have a free wholesale dropshipping mini course. How many videos is it? Like five videos. So it'll give you pretty much an overview. It's this PowerPoint was taken from it, right? Or
part
a bit
of it, yeah.
So it's pretty much gonna be everything that we teach today, but a little bit more in depth. And like I said, free. So, say who you are, where you're from, and we're going to get into the first few comments here. Greg Endham had a question. You're looking forward to this session with wholesale dropshipping. What did you use, if any, to replace SKU Grid to tracking the price and out of stock? So we can get into talking about that later after the PowerPoint, and we'll get into all the questions after that. So let's get into the actual PowerPoint here. I'm going to open it up. We're going to go into the presentation. First slide, we're going to present, and I'm actually going to work this new little trick over here on OBS where we click it, and this should work. Oh, that did not work. Okay, so wait a second. I need to be over here now, and then I'm going to move this over here. Click present on this one, and then there we go. There we go. All right, so here we are. This is wholesale dropshipping, and we are on the wrong slide over here.
Go all the way back to the beginning. Here we are.
What is wholesale dropshipping? So we're going to be leveraging fulfillment services from a third party while purchasing at wholesale pricing. So that's what dropshipping is. You never touch the item. You don't have to really worry about holding any inventory. You're not buying any items up front, which is the most important part about dropshipping, why both of us love it so much, that you're not buying the items up front because it's a large commitment. If you have inventory, or if you don't have enough money, or if you have cash flow issue, you don't want to be buying this inventory that you're not 100% sure is going to be selling. You don't know right off the bat. I mean, you can use a lot of different tools and things out there to be able to tell if it's going to sell or if there's a higher likelihood of it selling. But again, you don't even know. Even when we're listing these drop shipping products, I mean, we're going by 5 times sold in the last 30 days. That's just pretty much a good go off of point. But you're not guaranteed that it's going to sell. The more sales it has in the last 30 days, the better. But again, you're not 100% positive. So that's the best part about drop shipping. You're never touching the item, and you never have to buy it up front. And then wholesale dropshipping, of course, you're getting at wholesale price. You're either getting an agreement with, like we have right here, the manufacturer, MANF, that's what that is, or the wholesale distributor. So, you can go a little bit more, Jason, into the manufacturer or the wholesale distributor, but you can get an agreement with either or, and that's pretty much how you go about finding whether it's the wholesale distributor or if you have a brand that you want to be selling, you can go to the manufacturer's website and kind of work down the chain that way.
So one of the major aspects though is the fact that we're getting wholesale pricing. So one thing that a lot of people ask is what wholesale pricing is, and one of the things that I like to tell people is you want to go for true wholesale pricing, or keystone pricing. They call it keystone pricing. So if a product has an MSRP, or a manufactured suggested retail price of $100, that means that you can get it from your wholesale supplier for $50. And that's true wholesale pricing, or keystone pricing, as I said earlier. And that's what we're really looking for. But you can even have it at 30% discount, or 30% wholesale pricing. But the major aspect here is the fact that we're getting it for much cheaper than if we were doing traditional retail arbitrage. Most of you guys out here are probably still doing a lot of retail arbitrage where you're buying products from Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, stuff like that. You're buying it at the price that the general public can buy it for. Now, you might be tax exempt or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're still buying it at the retail price. And with wholesale pricing, we're getting those products for much cheaper than the general public because we are licensed resellers of those products from that supplier. So that's one of the biggest aspects of it.
That is very true. And even with some of the obscure retail suppliers that I use or I've been using in the past, when you get those special deals that the public doesn't necessarily have access to or they don't know they have access to, that's pretty
fair.
much where you start seeing, a lot higher margins and the ability to sell these items a lot easier. And, that's when I find my best suppliers technically.
Yeah.
So let's get into the next slide here. So basically this is a little graph that you made this, right, Jason?
Yep. So this is wholesale.
Artsy.
Yeah, barely artsy. So whole shipping, I like to call it whole shipping. It's just short for wholesale dropshipping. If you guys have seen me on YouTube before, I'd say whole shipping a lot of times. Wholesale dropshipping versus what I was talking about before, retail dropshipping or traditional online retail arbitrage. And we are comparing and contrasting three major aspects of the two different business models. And the first one is the fact that we are still doing drop shipping. We're still leveraging a third-party supplier to actually send the products to the end customer for us. We are just the middleman collecting the margin in between. So we still get the drop shipping advantage with the business model. The second part is that we're getting them at wholesale pricing. So as I said earlier, we're getting them for much cheaper than the general public can actually buy them. So we save a lot of money, which means either we can price a lot more competitively or we can just get a lot higher margins. That's what I like to do. Sometimes I get 30-40% profit margin, where a lot of people who are doing retail drop shipping are not getting nearly that much.
Especially if the shipping, stacking, and everything like that as well.
That's another part too. Is if you end up selling 2 or 3 units, you stack the shipping, you get even more profit margin. But I would say the typical retail drop shipper only gets somewhere between 5 to 10% front end margin, and there's some people who are even doing it for less than that and working the back end with discounted gift cards and cashback credit cards and portals and stuff like that. But with wholesale dropshipping, we don't really have to worry about that because we have real margin to play with. And the last thing, and this is probably the most important thing for any of you guys who are eBay dropshippers or are looking to get into eBay dropshipping, is the fact that it complies with eBay's dropshipping policy. And this dropshipping policy, if you guys want to look it up, it's out there. Just go on to Google and type in eBay dropshipping policy, and it will show you exactly what they expect from their dropshippers who are using eBay's marketplace to sell on. And they don't want people to do retail arbitrage, because they have so much competition from Amazon, from Walmart, and they don't want to be losing customers to those competitors of theirs. And wholesale dropshipping is one of the easiest ways to get around it. And also, you're not going to have to deal with getting your listing suppressed in search. You're not going to have to deal with suspensions, MC011, unless, of course, you don't keep your metrics up. But all of those things aside, you are in compliance with eBay's dropshipping policy. And that's going to be the number one thing for you guys if you want to have a long-term sustainable business going forward in 2020 and beyond.
And we're not sitting here, at least, Jason isn't and I'm not, they're saying that we're going to be stopping retail arbitrage or any type of retail dropshipping. I've been talking for over a year now that I haven't been doing Amazon onto eBay, Walmart onto eBay, and Home Depot onto eBay. I haven't really been doing any Walmart since probably,
And you stopped Walmart onto Amazon too.
Yeah, that was terrible as well. You start to realize over time as you get into this, of course, it's easier to start with the Amazon onto the eBay, the Walmart onto eBay. It's a lot easier to start, but over time, like I've been preaching, you want to be reaching out and branching out into other either obscure retail suppliers. These pseudo half-looking wholesale websites where you don't even know what it is, or like the full-blown wholesale dropshipping portal. And again, one good thing is that you're getting all these contracts, you're getting everything, it complies with eBay's terms of service. What I've seen a lot of people do very well is mix in wholesale and retail arbitrage. And if they come knocking on your door asking, oh, we need a contract for this, we need that, we need proof of purchase for here, something like that, then you'll have the actual legitimate wholesale agreements, and you could then, use it to get some purchase orders or anything like that, invoices, and really just show that you're legitimate, even if maybe some of the items they were asking for you were selling from, I don't know, who knows, Walmart or any other retailer out there. It pretty much just covers you in more bases than just one. And you don't have to, like I said, solely do wholesale dropshipping, because again, if you don't have all the agreements or you don't have the best suppliers, but you still want to have some other suppliers out there, there are reasons to go and do both. So that's what I think is the best. That's what I've started to move more into looking into as well.
So in summary, guys, with wholesale dropshipping, you're going to get the best of both worlds. So we don't have to handle products. We're still drop shipping the same way as we would be drop shipping from any other third-party supplier. And at the same time, we are not purchasing at retail pricing. We're purchasing at wholesale pricing. It's a huge difference, very, very big difference. One thing, and I've said this before on lives, when you're buying from a retail supplier, you get a standard receipt. Just like if you went into a store right now, they print out a little receipt for you. When you're buying from a wholesale supplier, you're getting invoices or purchase orders.
Yeah.
And that is a big difference when you know you're buying at wholesale pricing because you're getting invoices, okay? And the last thing is that you don't need any upfront cash. So if you guys are sitting out there right now and you're beginners and you're looking to just start dropshipping on eBay, I would suggest getting your feet wet with using obscure retail suppliers like Tom said. But as time goes on, as you guys start to get more experience, anybody who's out here is more experienced with eBay dropshipping, start really looking to get into wholesale dropshipping, diversify your business, and really push towards this model going forward, because this is going to be the best way to comply with their policies as well as get better profit margins and really get a long-term sustainable real business on eBay.
Very well said, Jason. So we're going to go back to the camera-only view of ourselves, and I'm going to drag myself over here, and now we're going to be answering your questions. So I'm sure I did check there were a decent amount that were going on over time.
51 people
we got
watching
51
right
people
now.
watching right now. So if you do like this content, also be sure to give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, subscribe. We're on our way to 14,000. Next is 15,000, then 115,000.
Something
and
like that.
you know, the only way is up from here. So Greg Endemass, and we were going to answer that question, but we'll get to it right now. So looking forward to this session. With wholesale dropshipping, what did you use, if any, to replace SKUGrid to track pricing and out of stock? So there's multiple softwares out there. Jason's definitely dropped it on a live before. I thought we were going to keep it secret, but there's one called Inventory Source. There's a few other ones out there. But also you can use SKUGrid, and I think that's one of the big things that people don't realize. And I've never personally done this myself, but I know you can. So SKUGrid, first off, in their suppliers list does have, what would you say, like 10, 15, 20 wholesalers maybe.
There might be more. I haven't really dug
it's
too
not
deep.
too many out of like the 800 suppliers that they have, but you know, it is a place to get started. I'm not sure how good they are at repricing it, because again, you have to go into like in most traditional wholesale dropshipping suppliers, you're going to be going into a back end portal or logging into a portal to then see the prices of these items. That's what a real traditional wholesale dropshipping supplier or wholesale supplier in general will have. So I know that SKUGrid has the ability to log in and things on the back end, but I don't know how the repricing works. But they do have also
the CSV,
repricing thing. So if your wholesaler is giving you a CSV file that's being updated continually, say like it's a just either a CSV or a Google Sheet that has all the UPCs and whatnot of all the items in there, prices, stock. And from there, you can just upload it into SKUGrid or send the link to SKUGrid and then pick what each column is. It's pretty confusing sounding, but I don't think it would be that hard to set up.
You only have a couple of variables, right? The price, the stock, and just
what
defining what those ranges are, what those columns are, and SKUGrid can just go through it and check. I haven't done it personally, but the idea of it is awesome, because I actually do work with several wholesale suppliers that all they do is give you a CSV file if they don't have something that's more legit, like a wholesale actual gated portal. So that's in lieu of a gated portal where they can check online.
Yeah, so you're not going to have to get 100% get rid of SKUGrid if you don't want to, but you might have to look into other softwares like Inventory Source. I know WebScraper app's coming out with what are they calling it? Wholesale X.
Yep.
There's some real expensive ones out there, I believe, that are doing very in-depth things.
Sellbrite and stuff.
I know eCom Dash does something as well with some wholesalers. There's a lot of software out there. It's just not as well talked about or advertised.
Yeah.
So we got Mohammed Faruqi here, says, "Hey Tom, thanks for hosting this. I had 2 questions. I believe so. So that he only seems to have asked one question, but it says, number 1, how is wholesale dropshipping different than wholesale FBA? So, I mean they're not really the same at all. With wholesale FBA, I would believe you would just be buying the products in wholesale and sending them into FBA. I'm assuming that's what you're meaning by that. So at that point, you have to put the upfront capital and cash down to buy the item, send it into Amazon. They send it into the warehouse, distribute it all over the place. From there, you're going to have to be doing all the research, even more in-depth research, I would say, on if the item has a high likelihood of selling. I'm sure you'll get higher profit margins doing that as well, but you know, there's a more inherent
trade-off.
risk with it. So
there's a trade-off, and that's another thing, guys. I talk about this a little bit in the mini courses. Once you actually start to get traction on a specific item, you can then go buy that product.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can go buy the product and have it delivered to your house or your warehouse or your garage, and then you can take care of the fulfillment yourself, increasing your margin by a substantial amount, because you don't have to deal with any dropship fees. You don't have to deal with the company, you know, giving you a surcharge for taking care of the fulfillment. Usually that's the dropship fee and the packaging and all that. If you can actually go take care of that yourself, and they'll give you better rates if you buy in bulk that way instead of
shipping
singular items. So, you know, that I have done that several times in the past, but I only do it when I know it's a really hot selling product and I know I can get much better margins by taking care of the fulfillment myself.
Yeah, I almost did that with, what was that item? The item that I put out on that video, it was my best ever Amazon selling item, turkey fryer. And you know, that item was selling like mad. It was 300 plus times in 1 month, and is what I showed in that video. I believe it was like 308.
It's an expensive item too.
Yeah, it was like it was selling for what, $100, but I was getting it for like 70 or something, or 80. So it was enough where it was making like 10% profit on average. But that was one of those items that if you bought it in bulk, then you would have found it for cheaper. And you know, but it was just, there were so many issues with that item that it just wasn't worth doing. And I really haven't looked into it for anything else yet.
Yeah. So Jameson Griffith says, "Hey guys, watching from Tennessee. Smash that like button."
Thank you for showing up, Jameson. You're here on every single live.
We got Lazy Abram as well. He's also on every live. We got Mike D. How's it going, man? Christopher Leonard says he bought the course Friday. Still looking to get into the Facebook group. Sent you guys a message. We'll take care of that right after this.
The people that let people into the Facebook groups, they don't work on Saturday or Sunday, so we'll let you in on that afterwards, Chris. So don't worry about that. Ahmed here says dropshipping retailer is still alive. Yes, it's definitely still alive. Anybody that says it's dying, you know, it's clearly not dying. If you have Zik Analytics and if you're doing any type of product research, you can tell that there's people that are still out there clearly killing it, and we have tons of students that are doing well as well. They're killing it as well. And the biggest issue here is, yes, it's become harder. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you can't just bulk list thousands of Amazon items onto eBay anymore.
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone. You know, even with Walmart or growing your account too fast right off the bat, it seems like eBay's cracking down a little bit more with the MC011s. And that's what my video was this week about. And, you know, there's definitely more challenges. But the people that are going or willing to go out of their way, overcome said challenges, and put in the work are going to be the ones that are reaping even more rewards than before, because it's not as even or level of a playing field anymore. You can't just get in, get out, sell thousands of dollars worth of items in your first week, and then, you know, make profit, and then, oh, I'm done with this account, I'm just gonna make another account, and then just go all over the place. Yeah. There's less abuse, and it makes sense.
Much less abuse. So Mike D says, how do you guys go about handling buyers who contact you well after 30-day return window claiming wrong items and defects? How do you handle dispute, PayPal, or chargebacks in these cases? So those are two different questions. I'll answer the second part about disputes on PayPal. First of all, most of the time with PayPal, if you have transactions that are under, I think $150, maybe under $100, they'll side with you if you represent yourself. So what that means is you upload the tracking, you'll be perfectly fine. PayPal will take care of it themselves. They'll reimburse the buyer because that's just the way that retail works, but they'll take it out of their own pockets, and you don't really have to worry about it. When it gets higher like that, then it starts to become an issue. Sometimes people make the argument that you might want to get insurance and stuff like that. You can get third-party insurances, but that's only in the case that you're doing a lot of like very expensive items, hundreds of dollar priced items, and you'd worry about that.
Another issue is freight tracking too, because that happened to me recently, where the freight said it was delivered, and then I looked at the website or the retail supplier that I was dropshipping from, and they said it got returned. I've already been refunded for it, but I didn't know I got refunded for it because I don't check every single email out there. And then, you know, they opened up a dispute on PayPal. It was just a big issue. I was calling them. I was like, no, I want this guy, because the guy won. And I was like, how the hell did this guy win the case? Like, this is a $900 item. And I was upset. And then it turns out it never even got delivered. I already got reimbursed, like, the money, but I didn't know that. So, you know, That's one issue.
And then there's another thing too, and I saw this in our private group where somebody had a chargeback that they were dealing with, and they were basically on the hook for it. And what they ended up finding out was they complained enough at the supplier that they ended up getting refunded for the item, even though they probably shouldn't have been refunded. They complained enough and got the supplier a one-time courtesy refund from their supplier, so they got covered from it on that end. And you want to exhaust all resources if possible, and at the very last thing is taking a hit, and nobody wants to deal with that. But that is part of being
another thing I've seen.
That is part of being an online seller for sure.
Other people sometimes charge their credit card back themselves from their supplier.
I guess
I wouldn't say that's the best way to go about it.
You could burn some bridges by doing that.
But with what you said, remember I think that there's two different answers based off what the platform is as well. On eBay, if somebody's just complaining and messaging me within outside of the 30-day refund policy, I'll probably just tell them to go screw themselves because it's eBay. And I feel more comfortable that if they left a negative feedback or anything like that, I can call a rep and be like, hey, please take this down. And I know what to say. With Amazon, you don't have the ability to be calling people. You can call people and answer and talk with them until, the cows come home, but they're not going to be able to do anything. They don't do anything. So then is it really worth the while trying to get them to remove the negative feedback or anything? I'm more lenient on Amazon to maybe give a refund or just kind of eat that loss than I am to, on eBay. And especially because Amazon, if everything's running properly, you're going to be making more money on Amazon. So you want to be, at least keeping that channel alive as much as possible.
So that's a good question. Thanks for that question. So we got Crypto Tucker. He says he's from New York. We got somebody from Greece here. Wow. Okay. We
Thessaloniki.
Ed O'Connell. Is that the only city you know in Greece? Yes. We got Ed O'Connell from New Jersey. We got a guy from Austin, Texas. What's going on? Steve from Maryland. Greg Endom says he's from San Francisco. We got representatives from everywhere.
We're in Reno.
San Francisco. Is that where Kobe died? I think that was where Kobe died. Oh, Calabasas, yeah.
How to process a drop shipping order, please. Okay. When you sell an item on the platform, it's a pretty broad question, but when you listed the item on the platform, I'm assuming you made a sale. And at that point, you're going to be going back to your supplier, whatever your supplier is, whatever you're using, and just using your money to buy it. But so the reason why we say that you don't need any money to start dropshipping is, yes, when you start with eBay dropshipping, there's the PayPal jail period of time. That is a 3-month period where you're going to be getting your money about 7 days after it shows delivered in PayPal. You'll be getting your money back afterwards. But after that point, then it's pretty much somebody's paying you a premium to go buy that item somewhere else. That's all it is. You're a convenience store, basically. You're like the CVS of the internet. And at that point, you're just going back to your supplier using your credit card. Most people use their credit card, not a debit card, because you're getting cash back points. You're getting extra money, extra percentage on the, that wouldn't be there to begin with. So at that point, you're just buying the item. I'm not sure if you have a specific issue, Osego, or what the question really is revolving around, but that's the basis of it. So we got Jimmy Coward here from McGregor, Texas. Ashley from Florida. I thought she was Ashley from Ashley, Florida.
Ahmed. Okay, Ahmed says dropshipping retailers need a zip code problem. He's referring to the item location misrepresentation. I actually made a video about this probably about a little over a month ago, where I addressed my opinions on the item location misrepresentation thing that's going on eBay, where you're using a whole bunch of fulfillment centers. Let's say Walmart has 67 fulfillment centers, and they're shipping those products from all over the country. It's called smart logistics to save themselves the shipping costs, right? So you run into the issue where you just put in a random zip code for one of those fulfillment centers, and then the item gets sent from a different fulfillment center, and that's technically called item location misrepresentation on eBay, and we want to be avoiding that as much as possible, although we don't really know what the ramifications, the penalties that eBay is going to put in place or has put in place, but they say that you can get in trouble, you can get your listing suppressed and stuff. I haven't seen it too much based on Tom's account, my account, by putting in multiple locations into that field, but I also did talk about in my video for wholesale dropshipping, most of the time these companies have one fulfillment center, and that really simplifies things, or they have specific SKUs that are in one or two different fulfillment centers, so it really simplifies things. But check that video out. My YouTube channel is called Wholesale Dropshipping Champions. For anybody out there who hasn't subscribed yet, I would appreciate the subs.
I like the plug there. So Daniel Zemlich says, does the branding banner on Free Web Store, that's the Free Web Store is the website that we make the free websites with, right? Yeah, I made one on there too. I kind of forgot what it was called. That pops up when you visit your site, look unprofessional to wholesalers. Honestly, I don't even know what he's referring to.
He asked this question several times.
So is this a pop-up?
Earlier
It
this
shows
week.
that it says it was made with Free
Yeah,
Web
so you
Store.
can like pay to get that removed, and does it look unprofessional? Yes. Is it worth the extra money? I don't know how much the extra money is to get that removed. It's basically a watermark. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
If you're really just, it seems kind of like a limiting belief to me that a wholesale supplier is not going to work with you because of something like that. You know, it's kind of a small thing.
Yeah,
you see pop-up banners all the time on people's websites. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you have a little extra cash, then yeah, go ahead and get that removed.
Yeah. So Andrew White says, are you planning on moving from retail arbitrage to wholesale in this year? So, I mean, I already answered this question before, but I believe he asked it before I answered the question. For anybody that is just hopped in and didn't hear me answer it, basically, I do not plan to move fully into wholesale dropshipping at all. Like I said, retail arbitrage is still very profitable. Just you can't be, doing Amazon onto eBay with automatic and API repricing and expect it to work. It's not going to work. I have a lot of great obscure retail suppliers that I'm using right now that are making me more than a full-time income, so I'm not going to move away from it. I am going to probably, most likely, mix everything together or split it up between two different accounts. I haven't really decided yet. With Amazon, I'd most likely just keep it all together, which I haven't really crossed that bridge on Amazon yet. And then with eBay, it's easier to create a second account, but again, there's issues with creating brand new accounts all the time nowadays, and I really don't feel the need to have to rebuild another account from the ground up, so I'll most likely just mix them all together.
For you, it's just a diversity thing. Yeah. You're just diversifying your income, which makes a lot of sense too. But I specialize in wholesale dropshipping. I really believe in the business model, but again, I don't say negative things about people who are still doing retail dropshipping, although there are still a lot of people who are doing it the wrong way, and that's really what I say to avoid. Amazon to eBay. Yeah, I don't even like Walmart to eBay. I don't think it's worth doing.
I do think it's a good place to get started, though. I mean, we do have a lot of suppliers inside of the course that we provide, but I do think Walmart is one of the best suppliers to start with right away. It's the easiest to get tax exempt at and other things like that. And it's just very easy to find items. But the biggest issue I've seen with people using Walmart onto eBay when they first start is that, it's easy to find very good items. Like good items that are selling, like 40, 50, 60, 70, even 100 times a month. And at that point, you're selling, if you list one that's really good and you start making tons of sales on it, you're going to be making too many sales for your own good, and you won't know how to, there's more than just the finding the items. There's like two battles in this game here. It's finding the items, and then it's also running a store efficiently, properly, and following the rules. If you're making too many sales and you're a beginner, you may have mastered the finding the item part, but the more important part is the customer service, the logistics, the making sure that you're not selling terrible items, the returns, just anything that could possibly happen. I've been talking a lot recently about items. When you ship out a ton of items, like hundreds of items, a day, or thousands of items in a month, how do you track all of those items? Like
it's very difficult.
Very challenging.
I think people underestimate.
And that's been one of my biggest things I've been trying to take on recently is putting together a string of software that I'm using that works properly, so that I know that if the items got delivered, because one gets lost here, one gets destroyed in the mail, one gets returned, you're getting phone calls, you don't know what's happening. It's just not. You need a very well put together back end system, and I think if you're selling too much right out in the beginning, you probably don't have that. That yet, So where are we right now?
Ed O'Connell, right? Yeah. So Ed O'Connell says, so your wholesalers will drop ship for you. So that's part of one of the challenges of getting up and running with some wholesale suppliers, not all of them will actually agree to drop ship their products, because some of them only will deal in pallets and they'll only move large amounts of product at a time. So maybe they have an MOQ or a minimum order quantity of 500 units at a time. And what their focus is not us as small-time internet dropshippers or retailers. Their focus is getting products into bigger stores like Costco, getting their products into those types of stores that really have the buying power to do that. So they put in MOQs. We're looking for wholesale suppliers that will allow drop shippers and will actually take care of fulfillment. So one of the questions that I ask is, do you guys have an MOQ? I'll call them up on the phone or make a wholesale inquiry online. What is your MOQ? If you don't have any MOQ, then that kind of is an in to start drop shipping from that supplier. Obviously, if they have the infrastructure to take care of fulfillment for you.
Very well said, Jason.
Dominic Jones.
No, we haven't answered this one, have we? Latravius McKay.
We haven't seen Latravius.
Latravius has been, well, we haven't done a live in like 2 weeks, so that could have been the issue as well. So Latravius says, which is better for beginner, wholesale dropshipping or retail arbitrage? And I would say when you're first starting, it's clearly going to be retail arbitrage is going to be the best to get started, just because there's less requirements. And that's why a lot of people think wholesale drop shipping, it's like, there's the eBay retail arbitrage, and I feel like everybody thinks Amazon's this like mythical, crazy beast out there that's like just so different to get into. But it kind of is, but it's like, it's not that different. But then even bigger than that, I would say, is the wholesale drop shipping. There's how do you find the suppliers and everything like that. There's more issues with it. It has more inherent, barrier to entry. And I would suggest going with retail arbitrage off the beginning. It's really where you're going to get your fastest learning curve, where you're going to have the ability to get everything well put together initially and then get into wholesale dropshipping.
But it's important to note, we were talking about this the other night, that like people get in their head that wholesale dropshipping is completely out of their league. It's unattainable, but it's really not. It's actually quite simple. And I don't think, after doing this for many years and doing all the different models, I really don't think that it's that much different. The principles are the same. You're still using a third party to basically move your products from one place to the other, point A to point B. You're just taking what's in between. It's drop shipping at the end of the day. It's still drop shipping. The only real difference here is the fact that you have to go and actually get accepted, and there's strategy to getting accepted by wholesale suppliers and making sure that you're dealing with returns right and making sure that the product sells. It's a different strategy is all it is. And even if I was to look back 3 years ago and see myself 3 years ago, I would probably tell myself to start with wholesale drop shipping, just because I know for a fact that there's more money to be made personally in wholesale drop shipping.
Yeah, that is very true. It's there's pros and cons of both, and I would say other issue is that if you're going to go the traditional software route for wholesale dropshipping, like if you're going to use Inventory Source or something, it's a little bit more on the pricey side. So if you're also a beginner that's low on money, funds, or anything like that, maybe $50 a month to integrate with one supplier isn't going to be able to fit your budget, where SKUGrid is literally peanuts. I don't know how the software is legitimately that cheap.
But one thing in my defense, or the wholesale dropshipping defense, is the fact that the tax exemption process is so easy. It's literally like takes you 5 minutes and you will be tax exempt for almost all wholesale suppliers. So each one comes with its pros and cons. The tax exemption aspect on wholesale dropshipping is really, really a big pro.
That's very true as well. So Dominic Jones says, hey, Tom and Jason, we pretty much answered this question already, but we'll give it a short little answer here. How do you keep track of an item if it's out of stock and the price changes when wholesale dropshipping? Thanks. So the biggest thing about that, first off, is that you're used to, and you're asking this question based off of, maybe doing Amazon onto eBay in the past, or Walmart onto eBay, or any type of supplier that changes the price very often. And even if you start getting more into these obscure retail suppliers, you'll start to realize that Amazon changes prices all the time. Pennies. It's going down. Pennies is going up. Pennies. It's moving around.
It's like the stock market.
Yeah, it really is. Same thing with Walmart. It's always changing prices. Walmart's bigger issue, I would say, is going in and out of stock frequently. It's a very popularly, trafficked website, but some of these other ones out there, they're not as popular. So they're not going to be changing price and stock and everything so often. And even less is going to be the wholesale drop shipping. So when people are saying that they're running it manually with regular retail arbitrage, and like by manually I mean by hand checking prices and stuff every couple days, if you can get that to work, and not even go into using SKU grid with retail arbitrage, then with wholesale dropshipping it's going to be a lot easier.
Piece of cake. And I always use this example. There was a wholesale supplier that I got accepted to last year,
I forgot about
and I remember I saw their catalog, their inventory sheet from like 2007. It was a while ago, 2007, and the prices for these SKUs were the exact same as they were in 2007 as they are now. So they literally had not updated a lot of their SKUs from, what is that, 13 years ago?
That's a lot of time.
That's a long time. So these wholesale suppliers are not usually changing their prices that often. Maybe they'll change prices, every year, every half a year, every 16 months, and it's a marginal change. And then their stock is usually very stable. So again, I want to reinforce this point is wholesale drop shipping is very stable. Once you get your foot in the door and you find good products, those prices don't really change, and the stock, if it's a wholesale supplier that does a good job of keeping their stock up, that you're going to be golden. They'll have 3,000-4,000 SKUs, and you can just keep selling them till the cows come home.
Till the cows come home. So we got Bob Sig here, says for the new coaching sessions you started offering, and that's the group coaching sessions for anybody that I was going to say there's a possible link down in the description, but I don't think there is. Will there be a version that focuses exclusively on whole shipping? At the moment, I'm not sure.
We've had some people ask questions about wholesale and
we're not
going to
turn away from
We're not going to turn away. So that's one of the things too, is a lot of people have asked us with this group coaching sessions, are you guys going to answer Amazon dropshipping questions? Are you guys going to talk about wholesale dropshipping? So right now we're just trying to keep it for eBay dropshippers. This is only the second month. We're going to the second month of it. So we're just starting, we're getting our feet wet. We're learning all about what you guys want to know about. And over time it might turn into something like
just
that.
An overall, we've been, playing with the idea of just turning into an overall, kind of just free-for-all type questions where it could be anything. And that does kind of just run into the issue of having a less focused live where maybe some people aren't getting the information that they wanted. So, over time, I think we'll eventually figure out what the best solution is here.
Yeah.
But so at the moment, it's mainly eBay, and we're not going to shy away from a wholesale eBay-related question, but we're not going to try to answer any questions about Amazon, really.
Yeah.
And then Bob Sig again says, crawl before you ball, baby. I'm not sure what that was in reference to.
Maybe the Kobe comment.
Somebody else said, rest in peace, Kobe. We should have a moment of silence. So Mohammed actually got question number 2 up here. How do I research wholesale drop shippers? So do you want to just give an overview, a slight overview?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One way is, first of all, you can just start out with basic Google search. Make sure you have targeted keywords. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's pick a product. Let's say, marine equipment or something like that. Go to Google and type in wholesale supplier marine equipment, or play with the keywords marine equipment, wholesale suppliers. Niche it down a little bit more. Specific types of boats, or specific types of metal for boats or parts for boats, and then just put wholesale supplier at the end of it. And you're gonna have to do some digging. Go on to page 3, 4, 5 of Google. Those pages exist too. The point is that these wholesale suppliers are not being indexed well because they're not putting money and time and focus into the marketing aspect and the SEO aspect of their website. So they're a little bit harder to find. They're obscure, which is good though, because that means your competitors are going to have a harder time finding them. You just have to do a little bit more digging. Play around with those keywords. And another thing to do is, if you're looking for a specific wholesale supplier in a niche, go to a trade show, not necessarily in person, but I've done that. I've physically gone to trade shows before, but you can go to trade show websites. Every trade show pretty much has a website, and they have a list of the companies that have showed up in the past and the sponsored vendors that go to these trade shows. And from there, you go down a rabbit hole of figuring out who these suppliers are, go to their websites, find out what it takes to be a reseller of those products. And those are 2 of the best ways to do it. And I go more in depth on my channel on how to do that in live, kind of like just live video format of screen captures of me going through and actually finding these wholesale suppliers. So it's definitely something that you're going to learn and get better with over time, but definitely check out those videos because I think they're pretty helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's really endless ways to go about it. If you want to go the more traditional route, if you're using, the supplier, like the one that I put out on the video that I did, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, about wholesale, my first wholesale dropshipping contract. I mean, the supplier is well known, I believe, after doing some research on it. And it's one of the suppliers that's connected to one of the softwares that we'll be teaching, inventory source. So it's easier because you already know that there's a software that's, connecting these this supplier together. So it's easier to find those types of suppliers. But if you want to go out and really branch out into, your own different types of wholesale suppliers, or really get a solid niche down, maybe they're not on that website, or they're not on the repricing tool, then you have to go out on your own and then, kind of do what Jason's talking about there too. Oh, I just clicked. That was not good.
So Abdella says, hello, how's it going? Abdella, we got King Rich. Can I use AliExpress to dropship on eBay, and how? That was actually the topic of our last live, so check that one out. I don't do AliExpress to eBay dropshipping. Tom doesn't either. Our argument in that live was basically that the handling time is very long, even though you can actually use 30-day handling shipping time. But usually in this day and age, we try to keep it to as fast as possible. I want to avoid those things as much as possible, and the product generally are very cheap. They're shoddy, they're poorly made, and they don't have much QC or quality control. So you're going to end up sending a lot of garbage products, a lot of returns, end up with higher value fee, final value fees. It's not worth it, in my opinion.
I mean, we don't personally do it. I've never done it. I've looked into it. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's more viable for Shopify, to be
I do
honest.
think
you have more control over your stores.
Shopify doing it, but again, I think that's also just a highly pushed method as well that could, not be the best. But you can definitely do so, but we don't. So John Arducci says he made it. Thank you very much for showing up, John. Differential equations. I remember DiffEQs. That was a great class. It says RIP Kobe. Mateo says, will you update the course, the eBay course for wholesale dropshipping? So we talked about it. Basically, we're going to be creating a wholesale dropshipping course. It's going to be completely separate, but you also said, Jason, that you want to be putting in at least, just an overview, like a feeler type couple videos. I mean, the eBay dropshipping course right now, you counted this week, wasn't it?
There's 92
videos long, and how many hours?
15 hours plus of content.
Yeah,
so us putting in more and more content that's kind of unrelated, the model is a little bit different. It doesn't make sense.
The idea is similar.
Yeah, but
the software, the suppliers, the
it's going to have to be its own course.
Everything is going to be completely different. So, I mean, without making this an overall course that's very, I would say, broad and bland, and not being able to get into everything, because my method of coaching the eBay dropshipping side is really talking about how to make this as easy for somebody that's just beginning to get into it. So, it's hard when you're, doing a whole nother business model to, provide them with the suppliers, provide you with all these softwares, and put it all in the same course that is, the retail arbitrage. So
I think it would be too overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah, it would be a lot.
So right now, guys, we got 59 people on right now watching. Go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But I would assume everybody out there watching right now has subscribed. We're making it quick.
Based on the metrics. I'm going to tell you that right now.
We're making it quick to 15,000 on this channel.
The metrics show that it's 50%, over 50% of people that watch the videos aren't subscribed.
Really?
Yeah, people just don't like subscribing.
Wow.
But those that have subscribed, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So we got Christian Salinas on right now.
You're going to get yelled at. Sup, Coach is glad to see the grand doesn't stop. I think he meant grind. It does not stop even on Sunday. Took a couple days off, but Sunday is, there's no football today either. So
yeah, that's true.
That is one thing. So Christian says, so regarding SKU Grid, you can use it to reprice and track stock even for suppliers not supported on SKU Grid. The answer to that is yes. You can. I'm not going to go too in depth on it. I've never personally done it, like I said, but if your supplier is providing you with a CSV, then yes, you can do so. Just look up. I forget. It came out. Look at their YouTube channel. It came out, I would say, within the last what would you say, 2 or 3 months, 4 months maybe. I don't know. Time's been flying.
Yeah.
It could be a little bit more than 4 months. So just look at their YouTube channel and find it. Again, we got an RIP Kobe in here. And how do you typically do product research? So, it's going to be pretty much the same exact thing. If you want to go more in depth in it, Jason, but I mean, from what I am doing and teaching my VAs to do, I'm taking a supplier that I have that I showed in the video 2 weeks ago that I made on YouTube, and literally just looking up products. Maybe they have private label brands, maybe they don't, but eventually, especially with eBay, you're going to find people that are very lazy and like to push they're just pushed to eBay extremely, with a ton of items in bulk. So they'll have most likely the same title, most likely the same exact description, literally just have bulk, like thousands and thousands and thousands of items on their store. From
That's
there,
the shotgun approach.
yeah, from there you can tell, hey, this person has, like 14,000 items on their store, and they're doing 50,000 in sales, and it looks like everything has to do with this one supplier right here. So that's how I've been teaching my VAs to go about it. I think that 5 times in the last 30 days is obviously a great just thing to aim for, but I don't think it's necessary 100%. I think, as long as it's selling, as long as the item's sold in the past, and, with the ability to list items so easily on eBay, I don't see why not. I don't think the sell-through rate of your store really matters all that much, and I think it's just about making sales.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. One of the things with wholesale dropshipping, because a lot of times these items are hard to tell if they're going to sell well on eBay, just because a lot of the times these are products that aren't even listed natively yet on the marketplace, and you might be the first guy to come across this product and have the opportunity to sell it on eBay. So one of the things that I like to do is check other marketplaces to see if they're selling well on there. For example, I've found items that have sold really well on Amazon and haven't yet sold on eBay or don't even exist on eBay. So you can check Amazon's marketplace to kind of get a gauge of how well they sell there. But you can also go and actually ask your wholesale rep, like, what are your best selling items? Or even use the category specific, like sort. There's usually like a sort button where you can sort by best selling items in a category. Cool. And that gives you their internal data of what their best selling products are. So from there, you can just go and list those best selling products. So it's a little bit more targeted than just saying, give me a CSV of 20,000 items and just throw it up on eBay and hope for the best.
People definitely do that, though.
It's definitely not the best way of going about it, in my opinion.
I think you're going to run into a lot of issues from that. Also, I've seen some of the suppliers that I've gotten agreements with so far have just provided you, like, oh, here are our best sellers.
Yeah.
Just an actual CSV of the best sellers. Like,
it's usually part of the onboarding package.
Get started with these, and branch out from there.
So we got Jesus Martinez. He's one of our students. Nice to see you.
Also from Austin, Texas. We need to get out to Austin, Texas.
I heard it's up and coming over there for sure.
It's definitely a large city.
We got Saab. Saab for retail arbitrage. If you have to place hundreds of web orders each day, isn't it hard, or do you use a VA? How do you trust them? Give them your credit card, etc. Yes, it is very difficult. Tom actually talked about that earlier, tracking, whether those items have been delivered, if they've been lost in transit, keeping up on that many orders is an issue. I would like to talk about the VA part of that. VAs are great. We love VAs. That's why we made a VA course, is to show people how to automate, scale your store using outsourced work for like $3 an hour.
You can't be doing this without virtual assistants.
Virtual assistants are a key part of this business.
And absolutely. If you're afraid to spend the $200 or $300, maybe even $350 a month for a virtual assistant, you need to realize you're in a mindset of scarcity at that point in time. You need to realize that the $300 you're spending a month on your virtual assistant is going to make you a lot more money down the road, as long as you're doing everything properly in sales. There's no two ways around that. If you're going to be the limiting factor and the bottleneck in the situation is eventually going to be you. You can't do all of this. You cannot do everything yourself. You can't do the customer service. You can't do the product research, the listing, the ordering, everything. It's
unless you're Superman.
Unless you're Superman and you want this to be your full-time job. And yes, do I love the money I'm making from drop shipping and never touching an item and everything like that? Yeah. Oh, it's great. Do I want to be the one processing an order hungover on a Saturday morning? No, I don't. I really don't. And that's where virtual assistants come into play. I mean, it's not that many virtual assistants to run a store either. It's like my eBay stores are run by 3 people, and my Amazon store is run by 3 people. And they're like the same people. They're running multiple stores, and that's pretty much it.
And how do you trust them for making purchases on your credit card? It's very easy, because at the end of the day, your credit card, if they make some fraud transactions, first of all, these credit card companies have absolutely intelligent proprietary software that is constantly monitoring the spending behavior of your credit card. So if all of a sudden your virtual assistant buys something at their local store in the Philippines, it's going to flag something, and you're going to get a text message saying, did you make this purchase? And most likely it's going to get declined at the point of purchase. Okay, so that's number one. They have a lot of security in place. And number two is they will always reimburse you for those fraudulent transactions if they do happen, and they'll close out the credit card card reimburse you. You are protected under some FTC guidelines, I believe it is. All these credit card companies have followed these protocols. You won't have to worry about that. If that's going to be what's going to stop you,
even if it's not fraudulent, I mean, it seems like credit card companies don't care anyway.
That's true.
So
Chargebacks and disputes. But at the end of the day, if that's what's stopping you from utilizing your virtual assistants, actually making the purchases on you, I'd say don't really worry about it.
would you
because
go
you're
as far as say
protected.
that's a limiting belief?
It's a very big limiting belief, but I can understand it because some people are, they get it in their head that it could mess up their business and somebody could steal their money. But the reality of it is it's not.
Also,
actually what
like
happens.
you can track what they're spending on your card. I mean, you can look at your card every day. Sure, if there's 100+ orders, it gets hard. But if you're losing money every single month and you're like, damn, I should be making money, then maybe you would want to look into it a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, do I think a couple $100 here and there go falling through the crack on my cards, not from like them fraudulently going and buying things, but just not getting that return back or not getting this or not getting that.
That's a bigger issue.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure it does happen, but I'm still happy with where I'm at, and every system can always be improved.
Right.
So we got 12 minutes left. We got 62 people watching right now. If you haven't liked this video already, be sure to smash the like button. We're gonna try to go through these questions a bit quicker here because a lot of them look large. So and I'm not sure how many are left. So we're gonna do our best to get to every single one in a timely manner.
So Rich B says January
Skipped
22nd.
both of Christian Salinas'. I didn't read it. I've went ahead and gotten started of finding suppliers that can't provide shipping costs until after the purchase order is made. So basically he's saying that you can't tell what the shipping is until afterwards. I've seen that on some of the suppliers. I've also seen suppliers where you can connect your own UPS and FedEx accounts in there so you get your own prices. At that point, you'd probably have to base it off the weight of the item.
Well, there's a couple of things you can do. You can average it out. I haven't personally ever seen a situation where you don't see the shipping costs until post-purchase. That's very uncommon to see.
Post-purchase?
What usually will happen, or not usually, sometimes will happen, is they will actually show you the shipping cost right at the final step of checkout.
Yeah.
So right when you put in the ship to address and stuff like that, then it will calculate it in real time and say, okay, it's going to cost you $15 or whatever. And at that point, what you got to do, because it's a variable shipping price, and a lot of wholesale suppliers have variable shipping prices based on where it's getting shipped in the country, you have to come up with an average. And it's got to be an average based on the amount of sales that you anticipate to get to each part of the country. So if you have a wholesale supplier in the East Coast and you typically ship things to the West Coast, you have to factor in a higher average, higher than normal average for what that shipping cost is going to be. So, but as far as post-purchase goes, I don't know of any suppliers that will give you the shipping cost after it's already been shipped out. That seems kind of strange.
I've also had the issue before, even with retail suppliers, where SKU Grid's calculating they're only calculating the shipping based off of one zip code, basically, is what SKU Grid's pulling it, and all of a sudden it's a heavy item and you're shipping it to California and it costs extra. I mean, at that point I'd take a loss, but I mean, over time you should be able to get at least hopefully a system in place that's going to work.
Right.
So Rich B here says, January 22nd, eBay sent a letter saying I wasn't complying with the policies. I've heard a lot of people getting that that email or message recently. I was using non-API lister / repricer. The next day my promoted ads flatlined and sales completely died and whatnot. So it seems as if you were getting you got flagged. So then he also says below, I was dropshipping mostly from Walmart and Home Depot, by the way, and had 100% positive feedback. So I want to know, first off, were you using any Amazon, and also what was the repricing tool you were using? I've seen people in other groups, it seems like maybe it could be an issue with AutoDS. I don't want to say that, but that's something that I had the inkling of, but I'm not sure. So
Rich,
I don't want to put words.
Just
Yeah,
go ahead and let us know in the comments, and we'll try to get a better answer for you.
So Sanker Prasan says, "What's the best way to find wholesale dropshipping suppliers?" We already talked about that earlier in this video, at least 2 to 3 times. So
yeah, I would avoid the directories like SaleWho. SaleWho's a big directory that people talk about, or the dropshipping aggregators. You usually pay a fee to get access to these suppliers, and it's all in one spot. And a lot of times they're not even real wholesale suppliers. And at the end of the day, if you use good old research tactics that I teach on my channel, you will save yourself all the money and the fees and subscription fees that those directories take out. Plus, you'll know exactly what you're doing yourself, and you'll get a better gauge for it. So just be on the lookout for those companies that are aggregators or whatever.
I don't really trust any of those. So Cindy A says, hi guys, as a new dropshipper on eBay trying to get a wholesale company, would you two suggest making a website like you said, Jason, and making your eBay store look like it's catered to that supplier? And what do you think about that? I mean, making the website isn't the worst idea because a lot of suppliers will be asking for the website, but I don't think you need to make your eBay
store doesn't
like
need to
look
be.
like the only niche you sell in is what that supplier is.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessary at all. I have seen people do it.
Yeah, I don't
but
think
I don't
that's
think it's
necessary.
really needed.
So I think too is, you know how when you have a store, you can kind of like personally like brand your store in eBay. Most people probably don't even do this, but you can put like a logo and you can
I do that a
sort
bit.
categories and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you can make it seem like a storefront. I think that's kind of what she was asking.
I understand, yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. It's definitely not. I wouldn't spend much time doing that.
We did the math before. What's the impressions or the percentage of sales
it's so
that
low.
are coming from people looking into your store?
It's
Like they
so
click on
low.
an item and then they go into your store and then they look at your store and how neat and pretty it looks and how everything looks great.
It's less than a 1%.
It was a very small percentage of people that actually did that, or where the sales were coming from.
Yeah, most people are finding your store through search.
So we got Noah in here. How's it going, man? He asked the question. So actually, webinar cases, I use the app Arrive for tracking all my sales. It works great. So that would be, I'm gonna look into that actually and see if that's better than what I've been using for my tracking solution. And Noah says, Jason, you said you do wholesale on multiple sites like Etsy, etc. Which inventory source does it integrate with? Do you use any other software to track and connect to all your platforms and inventory? Need a good suggestion. Currently, just stopped using Seller Cloud, which was terrible.
So Etsy, I never used. Obviously, I never used Inventory Source for Etsy. I haven't said much about Etsy, to be honest. When you're using all these other stores, you're really looking for a multi-channel solution. And I know there's a lot of like enterprise level companies out there that offer those solutions. I haven't gotten around to putting too much I haven't looked too much into it, just because the costs are usually really, really big for some of those companies. One of the big telltale signs of that is when you go to a website and it says request a quote or request a callback. Usually that's going to be a sales guy getting on the phone with you, and he's going to be trying to sell you an enterprise level solution that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. And I don't think it's really worth getting. I haven't gotten to that point. I don't really think it's worth doing that.
I don't know if you've looked into Sellbrite. Sellbrite seems promising, but I'm not sure if it does Etsy. I did. That's the one that I would go with, I believe, if I was to actually start using those softwares. But again, I don't use it either. But Sellbrite was one. eCom Dash. Again, I don't know what integrates with Etsy. I forget. So.
Oh, well, one of the things, too, that I was doing with Etsy is you have marketplace enables. You can enable marketplaces on Shopify. So, like, you can map your products that are existing in Shopify and map them to existing products on eBay, Amazon, and Etsy. And that's what I did with Etsy is I mapped my existing my catalog on Shopify. So my Shopify store is constantly being updated through third-party apps that integrate with my wholesale suppliers, and from there, once those items get updated in Shopify, they're mapped to Etsy. So Etsy knows, okay, this product just went out of stock. It's a native integration in Shopify. So hopefully that might give you some answers if you use Shopify at all.
Yeah, so we got Radwan here, Radwan, whatever that is, says, I have just started following you guys and I still don't understand how you can find products on Amazon, Home Depot, Walmart, etc. that can be sold on eBay with a profit. The prices are more or less similar. Am I missing something here? I mean, I don't know how much in-depth research you've done. A lot of the Amazon onto eBay is definitely going to be pretty damn similar. Again, it's what's the profit margin. You just listed the three most popular ones where the profit margin has a large tendency of being pushed extremely far down to the point where it looks like people are losing money, or they could be even losing money on the front end, and then they're using discounted gift cards at 10% off, cash back portals, anything like that to try to recoup at least some percentage of a sale on the back end, but you can't tell what they're doing because you're not running their business for them. So that's that. I mean, I can definitely tell you you can still find profitable items from Walmart onto eBay. I haven't checked any Amazon onto eBay in over a year, and I do not suggest doing so.
One thing too, I feel like a lot of people go into this and they'll just list products at a small loss, maybe like 3 or 4% loss, to try to get listing traction, and then over time they'll lift up their prices. They're basically using it as a loss leader. I've never done that. I don't
think
think
it's
it's
a great
worth.
idea.
I don't think it's worth your time to do that. So beware of some of these other people that are out there, your competitors.
They might think they're making
They might
money
think they're
too.
making money and they can't do basic profit margin calculations. They might be trying to do loss leaders. They might be using sketchy discounted gift cards. Like, I don't want to involve myself in any form of fraud like that either.
So Noah says Tom is slowly becoming only wholesale. That's not true. I literally have one video on wholesale or two. Definitely moving more into it, but not solely. We got Noah and Christian holding a conversation. What's up, guys? How's it going, Ben? Thanks for showing up. Why you don't want to give us useful information about wholesale suppliers? I literally said the website. No, I'm not even going to give that the time of day. But there's starting to be more content uploaded on YouTube. Like Jason, more people talking about it means more material to learn. That's very true. I mean, I would say that wholesale dropshipping has some of the least amount of content out there on YouTube.
It's honestly surprising because there's so much interest, I feel like, around it, but there's not that many people talking about it. And over time, I think it's going to transition. But I also thought that like a year ago when the whole dropshipping policy broke through and all, the sky was falling down. But I guess we'll see. I think Noah and I are really the only two that are solely talking about wholesale dropshipping. So check out his channel too. He's got good content up there.
So we got Kevin Katz says, does a dropshipper/wholesaler fulfill the order with my name and business on it instead of the buyer's name and address so they don't see that I'm the middleman? Some do, yes. So first off, how many times do you get a package, Kevin, and check where it got shipped from and look at the little, address and everything like that? And if you do, you're one of the very small percentage of people in America that do that. I can guarantee you, I've had items shipped from Walmart with the price of what I paid inside of the box, the invoice, everything inside, and very little people complain. So I don't think that that's anywhere close to a big issue, and that's one of the biggest limiting beliefs that we've, received time and time again. But yes, some suppliers do have, here's your logo. We'll put your logo and your return address or whatever
white
on the
labeling
box.
stuff.
The white label thing. It
And
doesn't
blind
matter.
drop shipping where they just hide all invoices and send it in a generic brown box. It's really not that important. I actually had one supplier say, we'll white label your boxes for an extra 20% surcharge. I'm like, what's the point of that? Just so that I have my brand invoice on there. It's not worth it. It really isn't. We see about 1 in 1,000, maybe 2 in 1,000 people will actually complain about the invoice.
When they do complain, though, they're usually some pretty salty human beings.
It's such a low amount that it's not even worth considering or worrying about. So we got 75 people on watching right now, guys.
It's always more towards the end.
Go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to try to finish up this live here and answer as many of your questions as possible. But so far, I think this has been a really awesome live. There's been a lot of interest in wholesale drop shipping, and I just saw Ed O'Connell ask me what my channel is called. My channel is called Wholesale Dropshipping Champions. I have a brand new video coming out tomorrow where I actually record myself talking to two eBay reps. I love calling eBay just because I like going straight to the horse's mouth or whatever that saying is, finding out what their policies are, where they're at. A lot of people are scared to talk to eBay on the phone and stuff, so I want to put out as much content talking directly to these reps as possible. I love it. I hope you guys like it too.
So we got eBay Hot says, do you recommend establishing an LLC or an LTD for your online business? I mean, can't give you real advice on what to establish, but we do have businesses, LLCs, and I think that eventually, when you first start out, I wouldn't be too worried about it if you're literally haven't sold anything yet, or if you are just in the research phase. It shouldn't be your number one priority to worry about. But over time, you should definitely think about making yourself more legitimate, and by doing so, it'd be registering your business and doing all that fun stuff out there. So where are we? My mother's on the live. Catherine Cormier, thank you very much for showing up.
She said hi, Thomas.
She says hello.
I didn't even get a hi, Jason.
She didn't even care about you.
Wow.
That's bad.
Wow.
Ed O'Connell says Petra, no shipping costs until you buy it. Yeah, Petra is absolutely terrible. That's one of those drop shipping aggregator. I don't actually know if it's an aggregator. It's terrible. Go look up their reviews on Google. It's a terrible website.
You got accepted by them, and then what?
I got accepted by them like a year ago when the mass hysteria of everything, people getting flagged was happening. I was like, oh, we might have to go wholesale right away. I've had an agreement with them for a while.
But what was their issue? Their products were terrible.
Their products are almost never in stock. They're like the most well-known one out there. They're like inundated all over the place on eBay and Amazon. They're hard to deal with, and the only items that you would really be able to make profit on, you have to then, once you get accepted to be selling in like other categories through their website. I don't think that they are an aggregator, but they're kind of like, do you remember looking at the one like Novatech Wholesale?
Yeah,
or something? It's like that.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Yeah, they're weird.
So how do I join the dropshipping school? I'm not sure what that means, but if you're looking to join our course or any type of thing, just check down the description below. We have free mini courses. We have paid not free mini courses, paid full courses, anything.
That wholesale mini course down there in the description, it should be in the comment pinned and at the top of the description. That is something that I just put out last week. It's 5 videos, overview of wholesale dropshipping, why you want to get started, some of the basic knowledge points that you guys could use when starting your wholesale dropshipping business. So it's completely free. Go ahead and opt into that. That's a good place to start.
So Rich B did answer our question, said he wasn't using Amazon, but he was using AutoDS. Like I said, I've seen some things, and then Daniel Zemlish is Tom throwing shade out. I don't want to throw any shade right here. I haven't looked into it enough, and I haven't, come to an actual conclusion, but I did say off the top of my head what my first thoughts were, and, at least I was correct. I wasn't wrong. I'm not sure what the issue could be with the software, but I've seen people that, seem to be getting flagged. I was told I was unflagging, but see no improvement in impressions. Yeah, I mean, any rep's going to lie to you and tell you what you want to hear to get you off the phone. There's no unflagging. I haven't seen anybody get successfully unflagged, except for, what was that, like one period of time in July?
Yeah,
when
like
everybody that was still using these automated softwares for like, what was that, like almost 7-8 months at that point in time, just unsuccessfully, just keeping it going.
Yeah.
They got unflagged for like a couple days, and it seemed like the people that kept doing it or kept using those softwares got flagged again. You're not going to get unflagged. Just create a new account. You're innocent until proven guilty. And that's exactly, Rich B says, any suggestions on what to do now? You're going to need to create a new account. If you're flagged, you're flagged. You're not going to get unflagged. And don't sit there waiting, because it's not going to happen. And don't listen to what the rep says when, you should be unflagged in like a month or two. It's not going to work. Ron Redmond says, I think AutoDS got my first store ban. That's always good. Etsy supplies my daily allowance now. Love it. That's interesting. Appreciate the answers, guys. Says Noah, where did we go? We just like literally scrolled too far. I'm working on an LLC. What can you tell us about the credit application? I don't have good credit. I've been a victim of identity theft. Is there a credit application in creating an LLC?
Credit application? I think
I haven't seen that.
I think, no.
I have no idea.
I was going to say something, but
if you have issues with getting credit cards, that is definitely a problem.
I don't want to say anything that could give the wrong impression or the wrong answer, when it comes to like legality, stuff like that.
I've never dealt with anything relating to my credit when creating an LLC. So Noah says, yep, I have my Shopify linked to Amazon, eBay, and Etsy, etc. Thanks for the answer. So you helped Noah out.
Yeah.
There you go. So Tom, on your last video on the wholesale supplier, did you have to do anything extra to get approved? Yeah, one thing I noticed in that video was I said what you needed to get approved, and then I forgot to mention that you also needed a website. That was just one thing I forgot.
But you used that shell website.
Yeah, so watch Jason's video on his channel, Wholesale Dropshipping Champions.
How to make a website in 20 minutes.
Making a shell website. It literally costs, I believe it's free, and then if you want to get a cart integrated, like actually making it look like you're trying to sell items from that, it's like $2.
It's really cheap
to get PayPal on there. I don't know if it's $2 a month or if it's $2 altogether, but I bucked up and I paid that $2.
And you ended up getting accepted by that supplier.
And I used that to also get accepted in automotive for Amazon, which is in one of the categories that you need an actual website for. I don't think that there's any other categories that you need a website for besides automotive.
Probably not.
I got accepted the same day or the next day.
So are we on Sydney right now? Or after Sydney. So Matteo Benaglio says, if you use inventory source, I never risk MC01. So I think he's asking, if you use inventory source, will you get MC011 flag? No. So even though it's an API integration, it's direct API. It's not like SKU grid or anything like that. I've had absolutely no issues. I've been using inventory source for over 12 months now. and it's completely integrated, no issues whatsoever. I can't tell you why. It goes back to the fact that I still think that their flagging algorithm takes in many factors, not
it's not
just
against
one
their
thing.
rules.
It's not against their rules.
When we say that you can't connect anything API related to your accounts, that's a blanket statement.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have to simplify it because it comes up so much.
it's going to be hard where you're saying, oh, you can connect this, you can't connect that, you can't connect this, but you can't connect that. Like, I have API related stuff connected to my accounts. It's not 100%. Like, they clearly have an API. Like, they wouldn't have an API anymore if they didn't want you connecting into their API.
Right.
But if you look into the terms of service of the API, it's, anything that is,
facilitating
retail
marketplace.
arbitrage.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I don't like and I don't get is why they say that you can't upload tracking numbers automatically with it, which I think is annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. That's their rules. So, where are we? Cindy said, yeah, I got approved by them, but had to switch a few things and do one thing Jason said in his video. Yeah, so it may have been the whole website thing that I forgot to mention. Michael says, so I was thinking eBay lied about unflagging me comments completely. They definitely lied right to your face. Ron Redbin says, dropshipping anything onto Etsy is a piece of cake, easy for beginners. I'm sure it probably is.
Just make sure that you take your own pictures for your products, because that's one thing. If you use stock images on Etsy, they'll ban you right away. I've had that happen to me where I was just taking blank, just the white stock images and throwing random products up from, I don't know, this is a couple years ago, probably DHgate or AliExpress, and I got literally kicked off in 1 week. So
there you go.
The thing that I realized is that they want to think that you're an artisan, a craftsman, and you're making this stuff yourself. You're helping out in the creation process of the product. So if you take your own pictures of that product, lifestyle-y type images with environmental backgrounds, you're good to go. They'll never know.
So where are we? Anthony Estrella typing in all caps here. I've been working with more local wholesale suppliers. It's been great. Yeah, I've heard people talking about that. I mean, it's honestly a good idea. Just
if you live in an area in the country, like I think Anthony lives in Southern California, there's probably a lot over there. And I would imagine somebody in Idaho probably doesn't have as many options.
all the potato people.
Potato farms.
Daniel Benavente says, I've been doing FBA with wholesale suppliers. My experience has been great. I've heard good things about it. Again, it's just that you don't have the ability to, you have to buy the items up front. So we got Travis. Oh, we're like 10 minutes over the hour already. We got to keep going on this quickly. So we got Travis Cloward says, I found wholesale and distributors right on the products in the store. That's actually not a bad idea. I've looked into stuff like that too. If you're actually looking at the item and being like, oh, where was it made?
Oh, I actually was going to make a video about that. That's actually a good point.
Yeah. So Daniel Benavente says online arbitrage on Amazon is hard, but not impossible as FBM, but definitely had more success with FBA and winning the buy box. That makes a lot of sense. That is definitely one of the biggest factors in the algorithm. Made it here late tonight. Malpaca says, what's up, guys? How's it going? Oh, my mom says, sorry. Hi, Jason. She is listening. There you go, kid.
Thank you.
Omar says, is eBay dropshipping still worth it, or should we do wholesale? We're talking about wholesale eBay dropshipping. So, yes, both. Do both. Where are we? Fulfillment. Petra is like VM Innovations. That's kind of true, but not quite. You can still do well with eBay dropshipping, but you should create multiple income streams that do not include wholesale. It is literally, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Include it.
Daniel's been listening to us, honestly. What is a good amount of money to start with eBay dropshipping? What would you say, $500? I mean, you need some money. You can't be like
either you have money or you have credit. It's one of the two, or you have both, right? If you don't have any credit, then you have to have free-flowing cash. If you don't have free-flowing cash, you need the credit.
But you don't need that much.
You have to have something to get started, right? You have to have that initial traction.
You can't start a business for nothing.
And this question has come up a million times, the thing about PayPal jail. If I'm in PayPal jail, then I need all this extra cash to buy the products because I need it up front. But the reality is PayPal jail only holds your funds for a certain amount of time. It's not a full month that they hold your funds, and you have a full month to pay off your credit card balance for the statement, and you're still good to go. The time difference is several weeks, I think. So you'll be fine. I hope that clears things up.
So where are we? Rich B says, thanks guys, you rock, appreciate it. We got another RIP Kobe in here. Cindy, I helped her out with her question, answered that, got a thought, so thanks guys. CS Deals Are Us says, I have some inventory I can't get rid of. What should I do? I'm currently an eBay reseller.
Sell
you
it
could
for
always
cheaper.
do what Amazon does and burn it, but I don't think that that's the best idea. I would probably just sell it for cheaper, or I mean, I don't know how much inventory you have, but if you're an eBay reseller, it's probably like not that much, I would say, from what like Goodwill and stuff like that. I mean, it's not going to be the biggest issue. I would just sell it for cheap if you can't sell it. At least try to recoup, and, get your money
Sell it,
back.
yeah, break even.
Break even.
I have done that before.
Maybe
Recoup
take a
your
little
money.
loss, get the money,
Get the money back.
flowing. Mike D says, what's the app that uploads tracking numbers to eBay? Use TrackerBot non-API. That'll do you justice. And Ron Redmond says, good to know about the stock images, Jason. Thanks. And we got how to recover your eBay account after arrest. Did you get arrested and you lost your eBay account? Like you got pulled over?
He said it twice, so you know he must have gotten actually arrested.
3 times. Did you actually get arrested? I'm quite concerned that they took your eBay account after that. Honestly, I'm not. Did you got banned? I'm assuming. I would just create another account and try to make sure that you don't get arrested. Sydney says PayPal releases money once delivered. That's very true while you're in PayPal jail. So that's about a 7 to 10 day window at that point in time. And yeah, just you need some money to get started. It can't be literally not being able to pay your rent, and then just trying to start this business. You got to get everything in order and then focus on eBay dropshipping. So, yeah, that's about it for today. We are 13 minutes over the hour, but we did it for you. I appreciate everybody here. We got 71 people watching right now. Please smash that like button one last time. Let's get it out to as many people as possible. We got 53 right now. We got 71 people watching. The numbers aren't adding up here. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Also, guys, down in the description, before I forget, we have the link to the Wholesale Dropshipping free mini course. It's over an hour long of content, and there's 5 videos. You guys are going to learn a lot. If you don't know much about wholesale dropshipping, if maybe this live went over your head in certain aspects, there was questions that you didn't really understand, a lot of that information is given in detail in the Wholesale Dropshipping free mini course. So check that out. All you guys need to do is put in your email and you're good to go. Also, one other thing before we get off is we're doing a course relaunch, right? Did you want to talk about the course relaunch? Tom and I pretty much just put in over 2 hours of new content. It was like 16 videos, brand new videos into the existing
20 videos,
eBay course, manual eBay dropshipping course that we released last spring. So there's a ton of new content in this course is massive.
The majority of it revolves around SKU grid and setting it up properly. When I made the course originally, it's not that SKU grid was foreign to me. It's that, I had only had maybe like 2 to 3 months of SKU grid under my belt at that point in time, and it's kind of a complicated program. If you've looked into it, it's very complicated. So I tried my damnedest in these. It was 14 SKU grid videos, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Of the update to make everything simple. Like it's not just one very long video on how to set everything up. It's broken down into smaller videos and as easy to follow for the beginner as possible. And I do believe, we've been getting some great feedback about the extra 14 videos that just got added. And, the 14 SKU grid videos and then about 6 other videos on, TrackerBot, non-API, and other things that we need to cover out there. So look into it. We're going to be doing the relaunch. When is that? This week? Okay, so that's that. If you're already in the course, then you have it. If you have access to it, if you're already in the course. So thanks everybody that showed up. Please smash that like button one last time. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next live. Thank you very much.
Rip Kobe.
Why did you go to